Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to the Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Marina Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Gina DeVee. Gina is the author of The Audacity To Be Queen, and we are going to be talking today on the topic, how women can cure the disease to please. Wonderful topic. Welcome, Gina.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Awesome. All right. So let me give you a short bio, and this is actually one of the shortest I've had, bio on Gina. Gina went from being a broke psychologist to a multi-million-dollar women's empowerment and lifestyle brand with Divine Living. She has dedicated her career to helping women connect spiritually, start profitable businesses, and create wealth from a feminine perspective. Some of the women include Jen Cicero, who, fun fact, dedicated her book on money to Gina. Gina's first book, as I mentioned, is The Audacity To Be Queen, consolidates 20 years of experience in transforming women's lives through deep spiritual and feminine wisdom of queenhood. Yeah, that's right. We all are queens, so it's time someone recognizes it, huh?
Yes. And I think one of the first sentences in my book is, "In every woman lives a queen."
Yes, exactly. I love that. All right, so as we start off, Gina, can you share your journey from being a broke psychologist to a multi-million-dollar women's empowerment and lifestyle coach?
Sure. It's always so humbling to be sitting here and hear the bio, because I remember where I came from. So my parents were school teachers. We grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. And when I became a psychotherapist, I didn't realize I became an entrepreneur, because I was just taught you go to college and you get a job, and then money came in the form of a paycheck. But I also went to church and I got the message of, and then you give your money away to people who need it. So it's like I had kind of like a warped relationship with money.
Only 10%.
Well, you didn't go to my church because we were laying more than that on the altar. So,
all right.
So yeah, those Holy Spirit rallies got expensive anyways. So I didn't really understand it, and I was very squeamish about receiving money, but I always had a desire for the finer things in life. So I also racked up $75,000 worth of debt. Not all of it was from shopping, a lot of it was student loans and that kind of thing, but
right.
It was a real struggle. And I just was taught, well, if you want to make more money, then work harder and work more hours. So I found I was working 75 hours a week, $75,000 in debt. And I was living off of $2,000 a month. And I was 30 years old, living at home with my parents. And I was like, this is just, something's got to get, like, there's got to be a different way, a better way. So I decided on geographical cure. I couldn't figure out how to fix my life in Detroit. So I was like, let me move to LA. Everyone there seems beautiful and wealthy. So I did.
But it's more expensive.
I don't know. Well, the way I was living it was expensive. The unlived life, it's like you don't get those years back.
Right. Okay.
So I moved to LA and became a life coach, because life coaches charge packages. Yes.
Nice.
I started selling $6,000 packages, which sounds really sexy, except when you're selling one every 4 to 6 months. So not so sexy.
All right.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So
that's right. Love that. Roomy. Yes.
Yes. So I, found some teachers, like the internet had just come out, and found some teachers that were teaching internet marketing, and, always had a great work ethic, would go to the LA networking groups and, to get my message out there, and then, did the work, and one thing led to the next. The internet marketing thing, I was in the right place at the right time for sure. And started selling my business programs and my coaching packages, and it's led me to where I'm at today.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So you learned how to sell. Yes. You have the content, but you learned how to sell. And I tell you, I don't know if I should say I know, but the reason I say I didn't know is because I wasn't sure if this boom of was there before COVID, but it's definitely booming now. Everybody is selling coaching, and
Yes.
they're making big money on it, you know,
Yes.
because there's people that tell you how to, put your class together and how to market it and do all the things that you learn to do. It's booming now. So that's amazing. All right. So that's a good story. And of course you're in LA. So you probably picked up much more clients there than Detroit.
It was interesting. It wasn't, I mean, I did, yes. And going to those networking meetings. At first it was meeting people in person, and then later getting the online pieces set up. So it was meeting people globally, really, who were signing up for my programs. And that's, I feel like one of the blessings of the internet, there's plenty of curses, but one of the blessings is that we really have access to the global marketplace from our living rooms. So, yes, but the West Coast was very kind of avant-garde, I would say, in 2004, 5, 6, when we were doing this. There were people that were like, we call them early adapters, and we got in early. And it's, for those of us that worked it, it's worked really well.
Okay, so that's amazing. Awesome. All right. But you kind of segued into a niche market. And one of the niches that you segue into as a life coach, and a life coach is broad, is teaching women how to communicate like a queen. And one of the communication modes that you talk about that I find interesting is bitch mode in communication. So explain, what that is, what it sounds like.
Yes. Well, let me take a little step back, and then we'll take a bunch of steps forward. So my, I shared with you, I grew up Christian, and my book is not overtly Christian, but it is based on the book of Esther in the Bible.
Nice.
Jews know the story from Purim, Christians know it from the Bible, and for everyone else, it's kind of a Cinderella story, basically about the most unlikely candidate to become the Queen of Persia. She became the Queen of Persia.
I'm gonna stop you there because it's very interesting. I'm just about to record. I do a 5 minutes with Coach Myrna, and I'm actually talking about the story of Esther in one of my coaching sessions on the radio. So
beautiful. Well, yeah, that's what. So I was like on a plane one day, and I've read the Bible through and through my whole life, and I would happen to be reading the book of Esther that day, and it was for the first time it really leapt off the page, and I was like, this isn't just Esther's story. This is the story of every woman, on some level, maybe symbolically, some literally, we've all been orphaned, exiled, taken out of our comfort zone, and really have been prepared for such a time as this. And I just really saw it almost as the heroine's journey of us all, and started doing retreats and workshops on it. So really the substance of my work is about being a queen based on her story.
Okay. So where you got that from? Got you. Got you now.
So
I was thinking about, when a man calls a woman his queen kind of thing. So that's where I was going with it. Yes.
It's that too. But I go through a lot more in chapter 4 in my book. So if anyone wants like the full Queen Esther story, it's in there.
Okay.
And so what I also realized is, Esther was under an enormous amount of pressure. She had to risk her life. She, the king didn't know he had married a Jew. And so she had to expose herself, reveal who she was. She could have gotten killed. And even under all this pressure, she maintains what the scriptures say, a pleasing disposition, AKA a positive attitude. Well, I'm Sicilian, so I can be kind of fiery. One of the things that I do in the book, I talk about the archetype of queen really being our highest self. And then there's all these other archetypes that can show up along the way. And as you pointed out, the bitch is one of them. And it's, I think that what happens is and I write about this in actually chapter 3, growing up, to feel safe. None of us grew up in functional families. Let's be clear. There's some level of dysfunction in every family, and there's some, I'm sure, good stuff for everyone too. But, you know, with the way society set things up, we took either two routes. We took compliance, be the good girl, do everything right, follow all the rules, you know, or took defiance. And either both of them keep us out of alliance, our true self. And so what I found for myself is I lived so long as Little Miss Perfect and Little Miss Good Girl, and I was so compliant that when I was done with that, I did this pendulum swing into defiance. And it was because I still didn't really feel like I had power or was really in choice. So I would let these bitchy comments kind of flow out of my mouth when I was under stress or feeling cornered, because I didn't know how to be in alliance. And so that's one of the things that I teach in my book, is about how we can really speak the truth in love. You don't have to be a doormat. You don't have to not have boundaries. And you don't have to be this bitch about it either. So you can have queenly communication.
All right. So I know exactly what you're talking about, because people are always talking to me about tonality, where, you know, it comes across very aggressive when I say something, but I don't, if I'm annoyed, but it doesn't mean that I want to be a bitch. It's just my direct way of communicating. So, so what you're saying is that, you know, women can, you know, say what they want to say that's on their mind, but say it in a queenly way. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Okay. You know, speaking the truth without love, it's just brutal honesty, but it's brutal. You know, and so when you come from a place of love, you deeply, deeply, deeply consider yourself, your needs, your desires, what it is that you're looking to communicate, and you deeply consider the other person also. And so when you come from this place, what you're saying might not be popular. It might not even be well received, but it's, you will feel better about yourself, because you will know that to the best of your ability, you actually set up a win-win situation.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's basically so how would you define the bitch mode of communication then? Right.
It's only considering yourself and not the other person.
Okay, got you. So you don't teach people to do that. You teach them to do something else.
Take a stand for the and. Deeply consider both people. Yes.
All right, all right. So that's probably a good segue to talk about the archetypes, right? You said there's 4 archetypes. One is the princess, the martyr, the saboteur, and the queen. So explain, you know, the archetypes, and maybe give us an example of the communication in them, and then we can finish up with the queen, right?
Okay. Sure. I mean, there's those are 4. I do write about many more in the book, but I think that we all can see ourselves like, when are we self-sabotaging? When are we being the martyr? Like, well, I guess I have to do it again. It always falls on my lap. You know, that's the martyr.
Yeah, right.
Just saying, you know what, I'm not going to be available to pick up that slack this time. You know, that's a queen. You know, setting a boundary, saying it beautifully, and being unavailable. One of the qualities of a queen is being unavailable for lots of things, being unavailable for overwhelm, drama, other people's stuff, and also not being available to be the martyr.
Right. Okay. So we talked about what did we miss? The princess?
The princess mentality, you know, it's tough for us women, because we're read stories from a very young age, or most impressionable time, about these princesses, and that someone else is going to come save them, and that, you know, it's happily ever after, and like there's sort of these perfect scenarios. So the princess thinks that there is this happily ever after in these perfect scenarios, and then becomes very confused and very distraught when real life shows up. because real life is not that way. And the queen has the wisdom to understand that. But the
Right.
princess is like, you know, if you have a business and you go and make one post and it's like, why didn't everybody like my post? And I don't know, these are great comments, or,
Right.
you know, in relationship where it's like, well, he's not showing up and saving me. That's his job. He's supposed to do that, you know. So for all of us to get out of the princess mentality and develop the emotional maturity and the wisdom that a queen has, that life
Right.
isn't perfect, life isn't fair. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's horrible though either. It's just the way it is, and then finding your place of contribution in it.
Right. I love that. I love that. Love that. Okay. Well, yeah. One of the things I loved about Queen Esther's story is you're right. She was pushed into this position, to save her people, and she embraced it. I love the fact when she knew how to talk to the king. Right? She knew
Yes.
how to. In fact, I wrote that down. Maybe that's the way that I'm going to, when I want to request anything from my husband, you say, if it pleases your highness, or, that kind of language that she starts out with. So that was, I found that very, very amazing that, she learned how to talk to him. She learned how to get what she wanted from him, and he gave her what she wanted, and it is the way she asked for it. And a lot of people, a lot of women per se, have a way of asking for things that maybe makes the man don't want to give it, because you're not giving him the respect. She give it all to him. So yeah, communicating to, like a queen, and understanding how to get what you want from a man, I think that's great. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. So our topic today is, how can women cure the disease to please? I don't know if we're taking we're going off of Esther right now, but I didn't know she had the disease to please. But yeah, explain what that is, and how. First of all, let's talk about the disease to please, and then how you go about teaching women to cure it.
Yes. So codependency is really what we're talking about here. It's when we are just operating to get other people's approval, love, admiration. And it's not really a preference. It's like when I was really codependent, it's like, it's what I needed to feel safe in the world. And so I was always monitoring, what does someone else want? What do I need to say that's going to make them happy, or that's going to make them like me, or is going to be acceptable to them? And so too oftentimes modern day women are just terrified of what other people are going to think about them, or what other people are going to say, and it stops them from being in the relationship they want to be in, or starting the business they want to start, or being visible online, or speaking their truth. Like, there's so much that the disease to please holds back someone's truth that's going to keep them from their destiny. And so, really healing and healing codependency and curing that, so to speak, in our lives, it's one of the most courageous journeys a woman could be on, to stop needing other people's permission or approval. And, the more you give yourself permission, the more you approve of yourself, is going to be the way that you're going to attract people who feel similarly. And it's the more freedom, it's the way you're going to live a free life.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, women, always feel, when they have the disease to please, is that they always feel that they have to give in order to get, kind of thing, that type of that type of thing, you know. So yeah, you know, being authentic and understanding their personal power is the way to not have to feel that you've got to please, whether it's your children, whether it's your man, whether it's your boss, you know, wherever you feel that you need to please, so that in order for you to get what you want, right, you got to please. All right. So you know, tell us about your book, The Audacity to Be a Queen.
Sure. Well, you can go to divineliving.com/book, and there's all the links where the book can be found on Amazon or wherever else. And it's really the what do I want to say, the playbook for women in living the epic life, like following your desires, getting clear on what's true for you, giving yourself permission to do the big things, to do the fun things, to live life a pleasurable way, and from a real place of wisdom and groundedness. I talk a lot about the difference between being masculine and being feminine. There's a lot of fun with the archetypes in there. There's a whole section on money and strengthening your wealth consciousness. There's communication tips. So there's a lot of good stuff in there for sure.
Okay, yeah, because you started off in your profile, you talked about the feminine perspective. So so how are you differentiating that in being a queen? You know, how are you differentiating that?
Yes. Well, one of the reasons why I love the archetype of queen is because she's not all feminine. She's not a goddess, you know, or a mermaid, or waiting for her, like, you know, prince to come in, you know, while she's sitting on a rock.
Okay.
And she's not all like masculine, like I'm going to take the bull by the horns and I'm going to hustle and massive action and the Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk way of being in the world, or like that empowered masculine way. Within us, within both male and female, there is masculine and feminine energy. It's just that the Western world is obsessed, addicted to, really, to all things masculine. So the difference is masculine energy is all things logical, practical, predictable, linear. It's about action. It's about thinking. It's about I, you know, so it's like those are all these masculine traits. And ultimately, masculinity is about giving. And then femininity is about the spiritual, the creative, the playful, the passionate, the non-linear. It's the circular. It's about feeling, not thinking. It's about being and not taking action. And ultimately, femininity is about receiving.
I was just about to say that. Yes, the receiving, right.
And so most of us have seen people in positions of power, whether they're male or female, be the ones giving, in control, you know, initiating, taking that action. So that's what we have thought of when we think of success. And it's just a different age and a different time. And particularly women need to get better at receiving a compliment, receiving wealth, receiving attention, receiving good in their life, and letting there just be space and time to play, to be creative, to relax, rather than always working, being productive, being effective, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, really getting clear that there is masculine energy and there is feminine energy. And when do you use which quality, rather than just having the default mode be all things masculine?
Yeah, that's a good one, because you're right. Women has a problem receiving. You know, they're always, it's almost the same, it almost can connect to the disease to please, because they always want to give, and when it's time to receive, they don't know how to receive. I tell my daughter all the time the same thing. They've got to learn to, you know how to receive. You know, I mean, I'm the same way as well. I mean, I know how to receive, but I'm much more comfortable giving. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you're right. It is, it is kind of the masculine energy, because if you were to think about it, if you're in a relationship with a man, like an alpha male, and he wants to be the person that's giving, right? Then you have to be switched over and be the one that's receiving. And where the friction comes is when you're both in that alpha male energy. You always want to do and do and do, and you don't want to receive. I remember listening to an author once talk about her book, and she was talking about the fact that sometimes you have to be cake and sometimes you have to be ice cream. That's the same kind of. That's right. You've got to, and what she was saying is that you switch roles, right? You're not always the cake and you're not always the ice cream. Sometimes you flip it around. So, which is the same thing that you're probably, teaching your clients about and talking about in your book, that you don't want to be masculine all the time, and you don't want to be, you've got to know when to be feminine, especially when you're in the space with the masculine. He's not looking for you to be masculine at that time. He wants you to be feminine and receive. So that's awesome. But you are connecting it to wealth, right? How are you connecting it to wealth or creating wealth?
Sure. Well, in every area of our lives, but in terms of wealth, so depending on what you're taught or told, most of us have been taught money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work. If you want more money, you have to work harder. And it's about like work all the time, and make sure you save up and save for a down payment for a home and save for money for retirement. So it's all this logical linear stuff.
Okay.
And the feminine way,
and you're saying that's the masculine energy.
That's all the masculine energy, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's kind of like a painting. If a painting has one color, it's one dimensional, and there's just other colors to choose from also. So it's not about not being masculine, but it's about incorporating the feminine. So the feminine way is going to be creative, and it's going to take a look at it. It's like, well, saving money for a down payment for a house. The feminine's like, do I even want to own my home? Like maybe I would rather rent my home and have money to travel because that's part of my value system. Or maybe it's actually smarter for me to take the money that I would have put into a house that was only going to make X amount over X number of years and put it into a different kind of investment that maybe didn't exist when our parents or grandparents told us, save for a down payment for a house when real estate was a thing, and so that's like the feminine approach of being more creative or spiritually guided, or not so logical and linear, but being circular and looking at other possibilities that might even be smarter.
Okay. Yeah, I like the creative approach too. That's definitely right. So feminine energy is definitely creative. We were built to create life. So that's definitely feminine energy. So I like that. All right. So is there anything else that you want to share that I didn't ask you?
I think the thing to really keep in mind, especially right now for everyone, I don't know anyone that's not reconsidering their life. Like with everything that we've all been through, everyone's asking, what am I doing with my life? And, reevaluating, is this even where I want to live? Is this the relationship I want to be in? Is this a job I want, or even if you have a business, like, is this the way I want to be doing business? So I really do invite everyone to deeply explore what else is possible, because the truth is we're not going back to anything. That world and era and consciousness, that is done and over. So world opens up, it's about new and expansion and expression and creative possibility. So if you're yearning for something more, a better life, lean into that. If there's desires that you used to put off and said, well, I'll do that later, when the kids go to college, when I retire, when there's enough time or money left over, what if you started with your desires? What if you prioritized yourself? What if you said no? What if you set a boundary when everyone's used to you being so available? Like getting into the best version of you. So that's really why I wrote the book. If you're looking for some help with that or some ideas or lots of stories from me and clients from around the world, there's all kinds of people reinventing themselves, transforming their lives, transforming their money stories, transforming their relationships, their bodies, their health, to really live an epic life, because it's available for all of us.
That's awesome. Right. That's why I've called this is, transform your mind. Yes, you transform your mind. You transform your life. You transform everything.
Yes.
It starts with basically your thinking, right? And so, all right. The audacity to be a queen. You're wrap that up for us in a nice little bundle. How does everything that you teach circle back to being a queen?
Yes. So the book starts out about how the epic life is possible, because we got to get back into dreaming. We got to get, especially us adults, we've gotten a lot of things knocked out of us. Our self-confidence, things haven't worked out, and it can be really tempting to just sit in the sidelines, take it easy, play small, stay safe, whatever that is. So we got to get back into dreaming again. And then chapter 2 is on spirituality as your superpower. Look, I'm too old to be working that hard anymore. It is time for us to really let spirit and God come in, and we got to open up for miracles, and we got to open up for big opportunities, and the way that the Bible talks about, my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts.
It's also easier too, because they say you can work hard but not work smart. When you get the help of God in your plans and whatever, then you don't have to be doing it all yourself. You feel like you're
direct your ways, right? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then when things don't go your way, like being able to rely on spiritual principle, that's where faith comes in. And you're gonna be miserable if you don't have a faith that this is all working for your good. And then we get into really exploring much more deeply the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy, and what it actually means to be feminine. It's not just about lipstick and a manicure. It's a whole skill set and way of being in the world. And then in chapter 4, I talk about the ultimate queen, Queen Esther, and how for all of us, this is for such a time as this moment. We are all, have been prepared to, be of service to our people. So that's the real foundation. So then it's like, all right, well, we're all meant to be queen. And we're starting to look at our lives, like, what happened? Why are we not queen? So then we got to look at some of the unconscious thoughts and beliefs about self-sabotage and the disease to please and the comparison trap, and, kind of all of the lack of mind training that most of us have not had. And there's a lot of tools and exercises in the book that really train your mind for success to be the queen of your life. And then we get into the qualities of a queen and what it really looks like to be a queen. Queens aren't broke. So then there's a whole section on money and financial abundance and miracles and around wealth. And then it's kind of bringing it all together. A queen has a community. She's not a lone ranger, and a queen has a romantic life. And a queen is really a feminine leader. We've had so many examples of the masculine leadership, but it's time for feminine leadership in both men and women. And then ultimately, we kind of end up with finally famous, because I think that deep down inside, each one of us knows that we're meant for more. And so really letting your light shine and giving yourself permission to be as fabulous and brilliant and capable and successful as you're meant to be.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I love that. So thank you for, taking us through, through, your thought process in the book. So that's awesome. I absolutely love that. Okay, so that's perfect. Yeah. So hey, Gina is just giving us a synopsis of what you'll find in her book. I love the way she broke it down for us, with, when should you be a queen, or when should you have the masculine, when should you have the feminine energy? Queens are not broke, right?
Exactly.
Yes, and the queen is a leader. We might think that a queen is the wife of a king, right? But not always, and even if she's the wife of a king, she still has power. She still has input. She's still a leader. There's a section that she's leading, and there's a section that he's leading. So I love that. Perfect. Sounds like a great book. So where can, I always have to ask this question, but it's almost a stupid question because everybody knows you can go to Amazon. But tell us where. If your book is not on Amazon, then, I don't know why. But tell us, where we can get, they can pick up a copy of your book. Talk about your website, give us your social media handles, that kind of thing.
Okay, sure. Well, come on over to divineliving.com. And if you go to divineliving.com/book, you can get the places where all books are sold there. You can also get it on Audible. It's ranked, depending on the week, number 3, number 5 on Audible. So people tend to really like hearing my voice tell some of the stories, but the hardcover is really beautiful as well. And there's a Kindle version. If you go to divineliving.com/audacity, that's where you can get the free companion course to the book. So you don't even have to buy the book, though I want you to. You can get the free companion course there. And if you go to divineliving.com/app, you can get a free trial to my Q Club app. It's the place for all things Queen. It's basically like Queen Netflix. You can go in and get a prayer, a meditation, a cooking segment, business tips, motivation, and there's a whole social network in there. So you'll meet all the queens from around the world that are like-minded like you. And I do live coaching calls in there and stuff. It's really cool. We're doing workouts this month because it's wellness month. So we do some really fun things in there. You can listen to my podcast, which is Divine Living, or you can find me on Instagram at Gina DeVee.
So the podcast is Divine Living. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, I've made some notes of all that, and all these links will be found on, first, a transcript of my conversation with Gina, and links to her book, The Audacity. The app will be, and as well as the podcast, will be on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. So yeah, right. And of course, Gina, I will definitely connect with you on social media and tag you, and everything is all ready.
Yes, everyone listening, take a screenshot of this episode and tag us on social media. We want to hear what your biggest takeaways are. Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Yes. I love that you are, you've got the book, you've got the /Audacity with your courses, and that app is excellent. Yes. Meeting all the queens around the world. I love that. You got to claim it, right?
Exactly. Yes. And you got to have a community of queens. So that's a
yes. You have to claim it. All right. Well, that's Gina. It's been a pleasure. Definitely talking to you. I love the topic. I love the content of your book, and and of course you are a psychologist, so it's coming from the mental background when you're coaching. Yes, you understand how much the mind plays in everything that we do, which is perfect tie-in for the show, right? Transform your mind, transform your life. Yes. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, you guys, for tuning in to Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life. Go ahead and, get a copy of Gina's book. I love that she's got it on Audible, because that's where I consume 90% of my books. I walk and listen.
Well,
so everybody's doing Audible. You get your book on Audible, so that's awesome. Yeah. So go ahead and connect with Gina, download a copy of her book, and listen to her podcast. And, just understanding that you're a queen, so you're a queen. Do you have anything for the fellas
Yeah, actually, you want to know your woman more, read my book.
That's good. That's good. That's right. How to treat the queen. That's right.
Mhm.
Yes, I love that. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for tuning in. If you're not done so already, please rate and review us. If you're listening to this on iTunes, want to invite you. We're talking about life coaching now. Want to invite you to join my life coaching group on Facebook, just called Life Coach, where we're connected to a whole bunch of coaches that will help you to become a queen, or if you're a fella, understand queens. So yes, so thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Gina, for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and imparting on us that yes, we are all queens. I love the story of Esther. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a podcast on it very shortly, because I was, people are, my pastors, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it, but right now, I'm rereading the Bible. And when I read the story, now, because like you said, you mentioned it earlier that, when the teacher is ready, the student will prepare. So a lot of times you read a book 5 years ago, and when you read it now, you get so much more out of it. Like,
Mhm.
your antennas are, much more attuned. So yeah, when I read, read the story of Esther, I took some points out of it that I wanted to teach on. So that's why I'm
Right.
going to do, the episode. And you took her as the foundational principle of your book. Yes, Queen. So love that. All right. Well, any last words before we wrap up?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, go live your epic life if that's what you're here for.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. So until next time, namaste.
Namaste.